So in this video, I'm going to cover everything I think affects a Beyblade. Now, it may look weird because you're used to seeing like stamina, attack, defense, but I think certain factors are made up of other factors. So first, let's go to the the layer. Weight, pretty simple, just how much it weighs in general. Weight distribution, that's if it's far out, it'll spin longer due to inertia. Far in, it'll spin faster but lose speed if it gets hit. And if it's offset, it'll be off balanced. Attack surface. This is basically what you could call attack. So if you're more round, you have less of an attack surface, and if you're more, well, or rather less round, I guess, like God Valkyrie, you have a more of an attack surface. Attack angle, inspired from Longinus. You can uppercut, you can smash attack, or you can just hit straight. Smash attack like on Twin Nemesis, which has both up or down. Then teeth, pretty simple, if the teeth are strong or not, and if they have some special thing like a springy teeth on Savior Valkyrie or a slope on Hasbro Bay or Maximum Garuda. Height, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Some discs are higher up, some layers are higher, some are lower. A higher up one, I think, would be Naked Spriggan. I believe that is where is it? Right here. This goes pretty high up compared to something that might dip down, like Regalia Genesis. For width, that's very obvious, just whether it's wide or not. So like Maximum Garuda in Evolution is super wide versus Blast Genius, which is super small. Grip, this is mainly just rubber. So like Drain Fafnir, now this does contribute to a general, what you would call attack. It does get more attack with more grip, but it also has more spin stealing. So spin stealing is, I'd say, a separate factor. You can have more spin stealing from either that, or let's say like God Valkyrie. If a Lespin Bay were to hit these spikes, that's a lot of impact, so it accelerates it more, versus if they hit Maximum Garuda, there's nothing to grip onto. So grip is how well you're able to simply just grip a bay. And absorption, that is mainly tied to gimmicks like God Valkyrie with a spring, how well you're able to absorb. So that can be through a spring, it can be through like Archer Hercules, which moves in and out, or through a burst stopper, or through Geist Fafnir's bumpers, anything that's able to absorb impact. Then disc, that's obviously weight's going to be the most obvious one for all of them. It's just if it weighs a lot or if it doesn't weigh a lot. Then weight distribution, same thing. It can be far out for more inertia, in for less inertia, or it can be off balance like in Convert, or in 1 and 1 dash for attacking. Then you have attack surface, like 3 here, relatively round, but if you were to hit, like a bay were to contact 13, that's going to leave a mark. But then you also have attack angle. Attack angle doesn't matter much, but I think it still does have an effect. Like if you have 9, that kind of slopes down. It's not really an uppercut attack, like Drake, I guess. You can also apply it to chassis if you consider that a disc. Then attack angle does have an effect, like in 3 attack. That's definitely an uppercut attack if it hits your disc. Then you have depth, which is how far it goes down. Mainly applies to super low ones, like in DB. Tapered, that goes down a lot. Basically just leads to more scraping, but also gives you a lower center of mass. And you have width, same thing. Spread just goes out a lot, or that spread dash goes out a lot. Regular tread doesn't, how wide it is. Then grip, same thing as the last one. Like Zenith has rubber here. Now, as far as every other disc there is, no rubber. Pretty sure Zenith is the only disc with rubber, but it does apply, so it's required. And as for absorption, that is the same thing. Like Sting has a spring-loaded gimmick. Hurricane, it can absorb an impact. Because like Hurricane, it does have a large attack surface. Did I call it attack surface? Yeah. It has a big attack surface, so if that were solid, it would deal more attacks. But the absorption factor is what makes it spin and not attack. So drivers, oh yeah, also frames do apply. They affect weight, attack surface, attack angle, weight distribution, potentially depth if it's like a super deep one like wall, width, obviously, all that stuff. So drivers, weight, that's obvious. It's just how much the driver weighs. Oh, I mean, weight distribution isn't really a factor in drivers. The height, some drivers are really low, like a Eternal. Some are really high, like the high drivers. And then you have the spring, which is how hard it is to burst. Like bearing has a very bad spring, but all the dash drivers have a good spring. Then base friction and base to driver friction. Here's how I would break it down. So base friction, rubber is more, wider is more, and metal is less, and palm plastic is less. So stamina driver, for instance, edge has low friction, and an attack driver um, like survive has higher friction. But base to driver friction is where that changes. So typically, the more friction you have, the more you attack. But there's exceptions. So like on bearing Mobius, a lot of friction, but it's free spinning, so it doesn't really take all that in. Now, like bite does have a lot of base friction because it's rubber, and it has base to driver friction. By base to driver, I mean basically the part up here, that's the driver, versus the part that contacts the stadium. So that's gonna have really bad stamina. Atomic has really low base friction because the ball spins around, and even though the ball is like directly affecting not really the ball itself is kind of like its own thing, so it has low base friction and I suppose low base to driver friction. Bearing, obviously really low base to driver friction, but also low base friction. And then on a driver like hold, that has really high base friction but low base to driver friction, so that's why it free spins. And all of these make up different factors. So like driver doesn't have an attack per se, but something with high base friction and high base to driver friction can attack, or something with moderate base to driver friction, for instance, volcanic. I believe volcanic is free spinning. Is it? No, it just wobbles. But when it gets free spinning, it can still attack. And then you have like layer. There's not a stamina thing, because for stamina, it's just the more you weigh, the further out your weight is, then the better you are at stamina. And it also helps to be lower down. Wider, kind of same thing as weight distribution. But width in this sense is what the actual contact points are. Like weight distribution, you can have a lot of weight inside or a lot of weight outside, but you could still have the same width. So like if you had metal pieces out here, that's outwards weight distribution, but the same size as if you had weight in here. So it'd be the same weight and the same width, but different weight distribution. So an attack type, for example, would have, I'm not sure what you would want for weight, but you would probably want off balance weight distribution, probably outwards, like on longinus, a high attack surface, an attack angle of anything, like uppercut on longinus, mash attack on a few bays. And then the teeth, you want good teeth to be able to take the impact of the attacks. Height depends on your opponent's bay. Like if you're a smash attack, you want to go high up. If you're a longinus bay, you want to go low down, especially in bays like Zwei. You really want to be low down so you can get that massive uppercut attack. And then for width, doesn't really matter. Grip depends on what you're going for. Like you could just have a huge attack point and it's so far out that when it hits, it's going to slam into them. Or a moderate attack point like Judgment, but it's rubber, so that increases attack. Overall, grip is better for attacking, obviously. And then for absorption, you don't really want absorption. Like Savior Valkyrie has it, but it kind of makes the bay worse. You typically want a rigid attack to slam into your opponent. And then for your driver, you're going to want high base friction, high base to driver friction, I guess weight, a good spring for absorbing the impact, and probably a low height so you're not off balance. So in my opinion, these are the factors that affect it. Gimmicks is where certain factors make it strange. Like if you go to a, let's see, Big Bang Genesis with the infinite lock system for the layer, I mean, the teeth, I guess you could say, I mean, they're moderate teeth, and the spring, like it's hard to judge the weird gimmicks, which is where you could throw in simple things like burst resistance and then just make that high Herbube Genesis and Prime Apocalypse and Galactic. But in my opinion, these are the main factors that affect Beyblades. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. See you in the next video.